We are finishing up Introduction to CPT Coding, and we will start our next module on, I think, Tuesday. For my new students that started this week, please remember that you are exempt from any of the exams from this module. Just work on your labs and your daily assignments and then move on to the new module. And again, that's found on the My Courses page. For all of my students, as a reminder, you always want to go to that My Courses page to find day one of your new module. So what we are going to be doing, we are going to, for the next several modules, about 3 or 4 modules, we are going to be doing CPT coding. And the reason why is because the CPT coding manual is pretty thick, and they like to kind of give you a wide range of experience with it in different specialties, if that makes sense. The way the chapters are broken down, it's broken down into body systems, and procedures on each of those body systems are in those chapters. So we will be working for a little while in one section, doing procedural coding on, one body system, and then we're going to move on to the next body system, spend a few days there, and so on for the next few modules. So what I'm going to do today, I was hoping we'd have a few more people, because now that we're into CPT coding and everybody should have their digital manual. And again, if you haven't gotten that yet, it is posted on the homepage. I was hoping today we could have a little bit of fun with it and kind of talk about I always found when I was trying to get used to the coding manuals and how they were set up, the easiest way for me to get used to it was to find things that I was familiar with. Like, I'm a diabetic, so I looked up diabetes and I just saw the different, the different versions and the different codes for it, and um, things that related to it that I didn't even have any idea about, and just kind of explored from there. So I was hoping today what we would do is kind of share some of the procedures or things that we have gone through, and then look them up in the digital CPT manual so you guys can have some practice and see what it looks like when you're trying to figure out, when they give you a scenario and it's like, okay, I have to find this code for this, how we go about doing that. Since it's just me and Rob Brielle, if you have anything, any surgeries that you've had, procedures that you've had, that you feel like sharing, go ahead and type them in the chat. I'll start with a couple that I have had, um, and we'll go from there. So the first thing I'm going to share with you, we're just going to go over the steps for accurate coding. And this is, guys, I'm going to go over this every single time until we're out of it, because it's the same process for all of it. We identify key terms. We locate those terms in the alphabetic index. We look around under the main term to see the subterms and see where we need to go. If there are any directions like see as or see also, we will look at those and follow those directions to get us to where we need to go. Then we're going to verify the code that selected in the index in the chapters, in that tabular section, okay? And then we are going to assign the codes to the highest level of specificity. And you guys hear me talk about how they indent down, how they get more specific as the codes get longer and they get more defined. All right. So those are our steps for accurate coding. And again, it's the same for my new students. It is whether you're doing CPT coding, ICD-10 coding, which is your diagnosis coding, or HCPCS, which is your basic Medicare coding. The process is the same for any type of coding you're doing. The process is the same. All right, so now I'm going to switch over to the digital manual, and I'm going to start with a procedure that I've had. Hey, see, I try to line up my little windows. Okay, I'm going to start with a procedure that I've had, and I've had my gallbladder removed. And if I remember correctly, the medical term, the name for that is a colectomy, a C-O-L-ectomy. So I'm going to go to my alphabetic index, which, as we know from previous discussions in the CPT manual, is all the way at the end. Move my little thing there. Let's see, I am in P, so I went too far. I'm going to go back to C. Calculus. And a colectomy is the medical term for a gallbladder removal, basically. I could probably look up gallbladder and it would get me there also. It might would say C colectomy or C procedure if I went that route. So let's see what the CO is going to take us. You see there, COVID, counseling, corticoids, still going. There's so many pages, guys. So much stuff in these manuals. And the reason I don't search for it is because it's going to bring up, number one, it's going to want to search all 3,000 pages. And it's going to start at the beginning. All right, so there's colpectomy, colotomy, colostomy. That's something different. That's to do with the colon. Colonoscopy, colonography. A little more. Colon, close. Halogen. Colectomy. Okay. Colectomy, which is gallbladder removal. And then we have options. We have our sub terms, right, under our main terms. We have partial or total, and mine was a total. It was laparoscopic. It could have been laparoscopic or open. Mine was not open. They did not open me all the way up. They had 3 little incision points where they went in. So that would be laparoscopic, the least invasive they could get with it, okay? So we're looking under this section. Let's see, with creation of ileal reservoir. No, that doesn't fit me. With ileal, no. Mine was pretty basic. With protectomy, no. Protectomy, no. Rectomy, no. Thank Jesus. No. Okay, so what I would do in this case, none of these options down here fit my scenario. So I'm going to click on this and it should take me right to 44210. I'm going to click on the range and see if I can get something. It might be that just the 442.0 is the best option for me because these all start at 1 and then go on from there. So let's see where that takes us. All right, 44, and again, y'all, I always scroll up a little bit to see what's before it. 44210. Colectomy, total, abdominal, without protectomy, without ileostomy, or ilectomy. CPT changes, blah, blah. And for open procedure, use that. See, if it was an open procedure, I'd be looking in the wrong section. And they would direct us there. So let's see what the other ones, colectomy total with protect. See, I didn't have none of that stuff. So there are 44210 is without all of these other options. So that is going to be our code, 44210, for the colectomy that I had, the gallbladder removal surgery. Did that make sense? Y'all see how I got there? Or Robert, you see how I got there? We just find what we're looking for in the alphabetic index and then verify it in the tabular and get as specific as we can. It's not too hard, y'all. And then for the exams and the daily assignments and things like that, where it gives you options, you can search those particular numbers. It'd be easier to search a word, those numbers, than a word and make it go through all 3,000 pages. And you could get to that number and see what the definition is and see if it fits the scenario on your test. Yes, that made sense. Awesome, Robriel. Thank you for letting me know. And just a C-section. Okay, I've had a C-section too, so let's look at that. Let's see what that's gonna look like. And maternity stuff is wild, I'll tell you right now. Maternity section is one of the most interesting sections. Um, there is different coding for moms and babies and fetus, and there's different distinctions that you make before birth and after birth and what trimester. It's wild. It can get really intricate, I guess is the word. Let's see, C-section, so that would be a cesarean section. So we could probably get it to stay to the C. Let's see. C, C, cesarean, C-E. When I drag it, it just goes so far, so fast. Okay, we'll come back to this. See this cerclage? Cerclage, that's something that I've had done that we were gonna look at. But let's look at cesarean real quick. I pass it up. I might be thinking about spelling it wrong too. Is it CEA? C cervical, cervical. There we go. Cesarean delivery. All right. And you'll see under that, guys, they have a bunch of different sections. Antepartum care, delivery only, delivery with postpartum care. That would be something like that. You'd consider that bundled. That'd be two things, the delivery and the postpartum care included in one code. That'd be considered bundled. Let's see, with hysterectomy. So if you had a C-section and they did a hysterectomy at the same time, it would be this code here, previous cesarean delivery. All right, so sometimes when you're coding, just like when we talked about ICD-10, like you'll have different instances. Like if this is the first time this happened to you or the second time. Remember we talked about subsequent, first time, second time, and then sequela being anything after that. It can be the same thing with CPT. They can want you to differentiate if this is your first birth, if this is your first C-section, if this is your first hernia repair, eye surgery, whatever it is. If the ability to there to have more than one, to have this done multiple times, they may ask you to differentiate that. Um, so let's see. Previous cesarean, unsuccessful attempted vaginal delivery, cesarean delivery only. There's a lot of options. We're going to say delivery only. Let's say it was pretty smooth for us. And we're going to click on that 59514. And this is where it takes us. And look, this is the beginning of this section, so I always like to read the little tidbits. Standby attendant for infant. For low cervical cesarean section, see these codes. Coding tips. And guys, at the beginning of every section and every chapter also, they have what's called guidelines. And this is part of your guidelines. And what this does, it's instructions on how to use these codes correctly. Like sometimes you can't use two codes together. They just don't allow you to do that. There's a better code that you could use that would represent both if they're bundled. So these guidelines will give you all those directions if there's any that apply to the codes in this section. So just as an example, instructions for reporting cesarean delivery. Patients who have had a previous cesarean delivery and now present with the exception of a vaginal delivery are coded using codes, and it gives you a range. If the patient has a successful vaginal delivery after a previous C-section, use codes, and it gives you another range. If the attempt is unsuccessful and another cesarean delivery is carried out, use codes, and it gives you that range. So it's telling you, depending on your situation, which code range you need to be looking in for your correct code. And that's why we never stop at the alphabetic index. For my new students, I've got 3 of y'all that joined the class this week and are new to coding. For my new students, when we find something in the alphabetic index, even if it only gives us a one code option, we always click on it and verify in the tabular. We never, never, never stop at the alphabetic index, and it's things like this are the reason why, okay? Because of the additional instructions and specifications and all of that. So, all right, so cesarean delivery only. No additions. It was simple. It was routine. So our code would be 59514. Awesome sauce. Okay, so real quick, we're going to go back to that one that we had seen, that cervical. This is the last one we'll do as an example, guys. That cerclage. And I don't know if you guys know what a cervical cerclage is, but when you are pregnant, um, there's always the chance that your cervix, which is what keeps the baby up, right? When you go into labor, your cervix thins out and opens and allows baby to come on out. Well, sometimes your cervix can open early. At any time during pregnancy, if something goes wrong, it can start to thin out and prematurely open. And that is what happened to me, unfortunately. In one of my pregnancies, I was pregnant with twins. So they were heavy. And my cervix thinned out prematurely. And I ended up, they tried to have a cervical cerclage, is what they call it. And it's where they go in and they sew up your cervix to keep it from opening, to keep you from going into labor early. And I feel like I'm all around it. And there's nothing that particularly causes it or can prevent it. It's just something that happens sometimes. Um, I'm real short in stature. I'm real petite. So carrying twins for me was maybe just more than what my body was able to do. I won't know that until I get to where I'm going and I ask my maker about it. But for the purposes of billing and coding, if I can ever get there, cerclage. Here we go. So there's a couple of different cerclages that you can have around the body. And basically what it is, it's like I said, it's just a sewing up or a stitching or a closing of something. All right. So in the cervix, they can do it abdominally, removal under anesthesia, or vaginally. Mine, I ended up with the twins. It did not work. They tried to do it and it didn't work. I ended up going into labor about a week later. Um, Now, my daughter that I have, Paige, when I got pregnant with Paige, we did, we knew she was a single baby, a singleton. I wasn't with multiples again. But because I had the cervical shortening before, we did the cervical cerclage at 15 weeks vaginally. So You see here we have cerclage, cervix 57700, but then we indent down, abdominal, removal, vaginal. So when we put it in, it would have been vaginal. Now, if we were coding when we went to take it out after Paige was born and we took it out, we would use removal under anesthesia. But see, they're both found under cerclage. So you remember I say there's multiple ways to get to the right code. This is proof of that. They're both found in the same section, right? So we're going to click on this 59320, and that's going to bring us to repair. And like I explained, a cerclage is a closing or a sewing up of something. So they call that a repair. And you'll also notice in procedures in the CPT manual, things are broken up under like types of repair, extraction. There's a few other designations, like they break them up into sections, like the body systems, and then how you can repair that body system, what you can extract from that body system. You get it? Then they break it up like that for you. So a cervical cerclage is going to be under the repair portion, and you'll see here 59300 would be the episiotomy. 59320, cerclage of the cervix during pregnancy, vaginal. And that was exactly what it was. I was 15 weeks pregnant. We did it vaginally, and it was a cervical cerclage, or a cerclage of the cervix. So our code that we would use would be 59320. Awesome. All right. Any questions on how we got there? Daughter was turned the wrong way. She was breech. Yep. Look, when Paige, it was like between Paige and the twins, it was night and day. The twins came early. Paige didn't want to go nowhere. She was up in my ribs. She would not come down. She would not drop. Nothing. Nothing. And they had to work to pull her out of my ribs. Like she was like, I'm not going nowhere. I'm happy. I carried her to 39 weeks and 4 days. Two totally different pregnancies. But so does that make sense? The CPT manual and how we get to the codes that we're needing. I hope that helps clarify things for my new students who are just jumping in. This is really going to help you guys out. Use your search functions. Just remember that that alphabetic index in the CPT manual is all the way at the bottom. And that's it, really. Hit me up if you have any questions, you need any clarification. But again, I hope this helps, because guys, that's really all it is. And when we do it in the workplace, it's the same. We're on the internet, we're using digital resources and all of that. So if y'all don't have any questions from me, I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.